Let's get this over with. The Anti-Matter Legion? Interesting.
Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're counting down our picks for the units at the very top of the current meta in Honkai Star Rail. Number 10. Kafka. Anyone who says lightning never strikes the same place twice has clearly never met Kafka. While her damage output looks underwhelming at first, the initial hit is only part of the story. You see, Kafka is the queen of the long game. Most of her skills apply the game-changing shock debuff, causing electrifying amounts of damage over time. Once you land a hit, all you have to do is sit back, relax, and watch as enemies fry around her. It's a sight to behold. In fact, Kafka's consistent access to status effects makes her one of the most reliable damage dealers in the whole cast. Shocking, isn't it? Number 9. Xuan. There's one very good reason to always keep Xuan on your team. To put it simply, this girl does not die. Thanks to her litany of regenerative abilities, she can keep herself on the battlefield through just about any attack. And even better, she can do the same with her team. Xuan's unique skill allows her to partly shield her allies' damage intake for 3 turns. Pair that with her insane healing, and Xuan's party becomes nigh unkillable. Oh, and did we mention Xuan's skill also boosts her teammates' critical rate? Clearly, she doesn't just support your lineup. She's the reason it's effective at all.
The cycles of yin and yang never cease.
Number 8. Seele.
Got a lot of nerve.
In comparison to flashy skills, debuff mechanics, and situational ultimates, Seele is pretty straightforward. She simply does damage, and a lot of it. However, in a game like Honkai Star Rail, that alone wouldn't be enough to make her stand out, especially since she's limited to single targets. But that's where Seele's uber-powerful talent, Resurgence, comes into play. Whenever she eliminates an enemy, Resurgence buffs her attack and lets her act again. Essentially, she has the attack stat of a single target master, but the versatility to plow through hordes at the same time. So, whether you're chipping away at a boss or grinding through grunts, Seele always deserves a spot on your team.
Disappear among the sea of butterflies. Illusions of the past!
Number 7. Blade.
My sword will be the last thing you see.
Given his name, it's only fitting Blade is the epitome of a glass cannon. He's got some of the best wind skills in the whole game, but they come at a high cost. Namely, his health bar. While trading damage for damage sounds risky, it's circumvented by the fact that Blade doesn't start fights. He ends them. But, as an extra precaution, his ultimate has a built-in failsafe too. The ironically titled Death Sentence always restores Blade to half health, whether he's above or below the threshold. Then, it takes all the damage he's taken in the whole match and converts it into one explosive finishing blow. With that kind of firepower, who needs health anyways? Number 6. Tenyun. You get a buff, and you get a buff, you get a buff, and you get a buff. That's right, Tenyun is all about those nice, powerful attack boosts. She's basically a walking, talking battery pack for your team, and with the right synergy, she can help even low-level heroes clear the battlefield. What's more, Tenyun has one of the most useful ultimates in the game, in that it helps others to get their ultimates. And yes, Tenyun's damage modifiers apply there too. It doesn't take a mathematician to see that attack buffs plus frequent ultimates equal a must-have for your team. After all, if you plan it right, Tenyun can be the buffer that keeps on buffing. Number 5. Silverwolf.
I can do this in my sleep.
Nothing howls quite as loud as good old-fashioned debuff. Entering Silverwolf. She specializes in reducing all of an enemy's stats, and we do mean all of them. Defense, speed, attack, you name it, Silverwolf can do it. But that's still nothing compared to her unique skill. Using Allow Changes, Silverwolf gives a foe an elemental weakness of one of her teammates' types. No other character in the whole game has that kind of mid-battle versatility. It's so flexible that honestly, Silverwolf can slot into just about any team composition and still do well. At this point, there's really no excuse to leave her on the bench.
Come back in a century. All done.
Number 4. Bronya.
Bronya is a wind-type fighter following the path of harmony who leads her companions to victory in the name of the Amber Lord.
You don't even need to make a move to see why Bronya is worth joining the front lines. By activating her Banner of Command technique, every ally starts the next match with a passive attack buff. But when Bronya's actual turn comes around, she takes that idea to a whole new level. We're talking about dispelling debuffs, raising the whole team's damage output, and more. And if that's not enough, whichever ally Bronya targets immediately gets another turn too. It's obvious that Bronya is so much more than your average support unit. If used correctly, she can control the flow of the entire game altogether.
To guard and defend. Crush them!
Number 3. Lacha.
Remember your oath. Out among the stars, the undercurrent swells beneath the tide.
Ironically, the best healer in Honkai is also one of the game's most powerful combatants. Lacha's support abilities scale with his attack stat, giving him an incredibly rare niche as a unit that can both heal damage and dish it out. The best part? He can do it all in a single move. Once Lacha activates his signature skill, Prayer of the Abyss Flower, it will automatically replenish his allies' health when they take a certain amount of damage. No turn or skill points needed. That frees up Lacha to focus on offense, and thanks to his aforementioned attack stat, that comes pretty naturally. Talk about getting the best of both worlds.
To witness your promise.
Number 2. Jingliu.
The inner self is purged.
Ever since her release, Jingliu has frozen her way at the very top of the competitive scene. And for good reason. With or without investment, her ice damage is simply unmatched. Especially when you take into account her signature talent, Crescent Transmigration. Each basic attack raises her level, and after just 2 strikes, Jingliu no longer needs any skill points to unleash her devastating ice skills. To put that into perspective, her ultimate can dish out over 300% of her gargantuan attack stat onto a single enemy. So word of advice? Get Jingliu while you can. There may never be a character as strong as her in a very, very long time.
And so I wield my blade to the very end, until the stars have been cut down from the sky.
Number 1. Danhang in Bei Lune.
The consequences are mine to bear.
If you're looking for damage, you're in the right place. As its name implies, the Imbiber Lune form is Danhang, but better in just about every conceivable way. Arguably, he's better than everyone else too. Thanks to his talent, Righteous Heart, Dan gets a slight damage buff with each individual hit of his basic attack. He can also stack skill points to increase the number of hits, ramping up the multiplier even more. Then, just to really sweeten the deal, Imbiber Lune comes with unique passives that offset his high energy costs. Suffice it to say, this is Imbiber Lune's game, and everyone else is just living in it.
World Cleansing Dragon!
Which Honkai Star Rail character do you always take into battle? Let us know in the comments below.